If it's in your community, it's going to be in your community blog. And if you live in the Rainier Valley, everything's going to be in there, because our guest today, our guest tonight, is someone to make sure that it gets there. Amber Campbell, editor, publisher of the Rainier Valley Post. Amber, welcome back.
Thank you.
Wow, you're busy. And you know, and as I was reading and preparing for the show, it takes me 2 weeks to prepare for this show because there's so much in there. The Rainier Valley Post is probably becoming the model for what a community blog should be.
My goodness, thank you.
Well, here's why. Not only do you have story after story after story about the community, but you've got the community who is participating themselves.
That's a very, very important part. And that's what's so beautiful about this technology, is that it allows people, you know, that forum to communicate and have discussion that's so critical to the things that are going on in our community.
And before we go any further, let's go to the RainierValleyPost.com itself. In fact, this is the latest, and the latest, of course, is the weekend update about plant sales and rummage sales and Art Fest and more. And of course, this is the weekend that just happened, because we are doing this show actually on Friday, and it is going to be on Monday, because Amber's got to be out there reporting on what's happening. Speaking of what's happening, there's a lot of big things happening, but particularly with regard to what has been called the controversial North Rainier redevelopment plan.
It's a big deal right now in the Rainier Valley. There's a lot of talk going on about it.
So what is it? Who's doing it? Where's it coming from? How happy is everybody to see it coming?
Well, it's mainly the Department of Transportation.
Of the city?
Of the city, yeah, the City of Seattle, Department of Transportation. And they're working towards what they call more of a town center model, which allows for more walkability and that sort of thing, encouraging people to take transit-oriented development. And essentially what it's breaking down to right now that people are talking about is a new traffic flow pattern throughout the Rainier Valley. And of course we know from previous shows that transportation issues get folks very, very interested and talkative. And so what they're proposing is essentially sort of a bow tie configuration, whereas Rainier Avenue South becomes one-way traveling south, and then Martin Luther King becomes one-way traveling north. And so you sort of essentially have this large roundabout going on there.
Yeah, we've blown up one half of the map.
Right, there you go, exactly.
So what's happening there?
So from what we understand, the mayor really likes this plan, is what the people from the Department of Transportation tell us, and he's given them the go-ahead to implement it. It has been, several years in the making, the redevelopment efforts of this area, and the Rainier Valley certainly isn't the only community that's looking at neighborhood plan updates throughout Seattle, but it's one of the ones. Because we have light rail now, it's one of the neighborhoods and communities in Seattle that is going to be first in the lineup in terms of transforming these neighborhoods.
So here's the second part of the map, and the transforming these neighborhoods. That's really key. I lived in Washington D.C. quite some time ago, at a time when the Metro rail line was being extended. And it essentially divided the neighborhood. And we talked a little bit about this before, but it forever divided the neighborhood, and it made right side and wrong side of the tracks in Washington, D.C. that didn't exist there.
Yeah, we sort of already have that in the Rainier Valley, and specifically in Seattle. At the risk of getting off topic, one of the more interesting things that are going on lately, besides this redevelopment, is the revelation from the census numbers that while the Rainier Valley is one of the most diverse communities in the nation, the city of Seattle is one of the least diverse in the nation. And so that's,
Strange.
It's strange. It's interesting. And so I'm not sure. I guess it just leads me to wonder if, if we would have that same sort of division in the community, because of the light rail or because of the new transportation. I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to be
So if Rainier
problem.
is hit one way headed south, what happens to all those businesses?
Well, and there's the rub. And I think if the community is at all struggling with the idea, I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns. And it's also a concern because I think a lot of the business owners feel, that you speak of, feel like they haven't really been consulted. And so, I think the city now has to do perhaps a little backtracking and talk to some of these businesses and make sure that they're on board with it and that it's going to work for them. Because, we have some businesses in the Rainier Valley that provide a very large amount of employment for Rainier Valley residents, including Pepsi, Dairy Gold, the Lighthouse for the Blind, interestingly enough, is one of the biggest employers in the Rainier Valley.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either until just recently.
Well, yeah, I guess, but now here it is on the community blog. So actually, I want to go to some of the comments. There were tons of comments on this, and there were just too many great ones to be able to get them all up.
Sure.
But here's, we're going to keep going. Here we are. Okay, this is neighbors or businesses in the area that rely on traffic are unaware that there's a city-driven plan to change traffic and zoning. Is that true? I mean, do people not know about this?
I think despite what some would call an overemphasis on community involvement and that Seattle process that everybody likes to joke about, I do think there are a lot of people who are unaware. The Rainier Valley is one of the poorest communities in Seattle. And people are really struggling, and they're struggling to put food on the table and get back and forth to work, get homework done at the end of the day and do what they have to do. And frankly, attending a lot of city meetings, drilling down on, transportation issues is just something that I think a lot of people in this economy just simply don't have time for, regardless of how it may or may not affect their daily life.
But everybody doesn't agree. I mean, and your commenters don't agree with each other. Let's actually go to some more of the comments. Here's one, Anonymous the Lessor. I attended a frightening meeting last night. It wasn't widely publicized to all of Southeast Seattle that will be affected. They only mailed to people with 200 feet of the proposed change area. It's one of the best kept secrets in Seattle. They planned on a small group who thinks like the mayor and many work for the city. Fortunately, a local group got the word out to at least the immediate area. And of course, the Rainier Valley Post did as well. Interesting thing is that if I were to get something in the mail, I would think it's junk mail and probably just toss it.
I do too. Most people do.
Let's go to the next comment. And here's even more. He says, this is funny. I realize that town hall is into green, but in this case, I think the green that they got is hallucinogenic. Remember, elections are coming. It's time for a big change downtown. So is that a common feeling, you think?
I think it is, although, you sort of have to take it all in stride too. There's, this is a big plan that makes a lot of changes, and probably some good, some bad. One of the city planners, I think, put it pretty succinctly the other day when he said, in some cases bicyclists are going to win, in some cases drivers are going to win, in some cases pedestrians are going to win. And I think that's just true for anything. And so it's very controversial. Whether or not, it creates good or bad is up for debate and will be for quite some time.
Wow. I know that there's a very strong bicycle lobby in our city, but I just think it is astronomically stupid, and of course here I'm going to get yelled at. But when there is a car and a bicycle in the same place, the car wins, whether or not it's the law or not. The car wins.
That's right.
Because the bicyclist is just too vulnerable, and that's difficult. Now, if the city wants to go to this incredible expense for bicyclists, then there's never going to be able to show the payback.
That's right.
The payback is not there anywhere in the world. If you go to China where there's tons of bicyclists, they're changing.
Well, and I think the timing is really poor with the economy the way that it is, you know, and the city and excuse me, and the state and the county in such dire straits financially. I'm not sure that you know, increasing bicycle lanes and hiring new mayoral advisors on biking issues. Not that it's not important. It certainly is an important issue. Obviously, it's something that a lot of people in Seattle are interested in. That's excellent. But we have some real serious issues here that people are dealing with.
How objective you're being. I don't have to be objective. So let's go forward to some more of the comments, though, because the public of Rainier Valley, man, they speak. They get out. Let's go.
Do.
Here we are. This was about the comment of the week, and it went on this issue, and it was a great comment. And this was a quote. Opponents of the plan say they say it doesn't do enough to preserve the character and quality of the life of historic Mount Baker. And the particular comments statement was, please, let's preserve the pawn exchange and the crack car wash.
That was a great comment. Sometimes you got to give award somebody a comment of the week just because it makes you laugh out loud.
but you know, that comment itself spurred on even more comments on the issue. Let's go to some more from the public. Here they are, and this was, it's their own fault. He says if the larger community is not showing up for the community meetings when they're not being played, then we're being lazy. And he basically says, you know, if you don't show up and talk, then it's your fault. Here's my question. The town meeting concept, it was here in the 1700s, actually not here because this wasn't settled, but in the United States it was back east in the 1700s. The town meeting concept was a big part of what we did. Then there was some interactivity that went on with television in the 1980s, maybe some into the 1990s. But life has changed so much. Is the community blog, particularly the Rainier Valley Post, the town meeting of today?
Well, of course, I'm biased, but yes, my answer to that question would be yes. And you know, it's a great opportunity for people who otherwise can't make the meetings. As a single mom, I oftentimes can't make the meetings, even though it might be my job. And you know, there are so many things going on in the community, so many different meetings at any given time, so many different issues that it's very difficult. And sometimes the only time you have available is, you know, midnight after the kids have gone to bed or, you know, whatever. And if that's your only option, which it is for so many people in the Rainier Valley for contributing to the conversation, then I say, you know, let's do it.
Well, right now the Rainier Valley Post is, of course, is here. You have your publication. You're also picked up by the Seattle Times. And are there other TV stations that pick you up as well, or others pick you up too, right?
Scan TV is the lucky one right now.
Okay, well, I'm sure that there will be others, but the point being is that is the essential aspect of the community blogs, particularly the Rainier Valley Post, to the community. Perhaps at the next public meeting on this, maybe the city would cooperate with you and say, okay, you submit your comment this way, and we will answer your questions at the meeting itself, and then they will be reposted in the Rainier Valley Post.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? We're actually talking to the city about doing something sort of similar, and actually I'd love to tack on your specific idea. Because this redevelopment plan is so long and involved and complicated, we're going to do a series at the Rainier Valley Post on, you know, opening up the entire plan, talking to opponents, you know, for and against, and I love the idea of adding that comment feature.
We need to get to a couple more comments, then we will go straight to a break. Next comment about this is after it's their fault. Let's go on to the next one. And it was a son of 1490, but without any of those troublesome and powerful North End neighborhoods in the mix. As they say, Bohica, we all know what that stands for. We won't even go into that further. Here's probably one of the most interesting comments, though, that I saw. The concept of sustainable development basically says that there are too many people on planet Earth and that the population of the world must be reduced in order to have enough resources for future generations. The UN should be the global custodian of the Earth and all its resources. Only right here at the Rainier Valley Post in the Rainier Valley would the UN come into play.
Right?
Amber, we're going to take a break. We're very, very fortunate right here on Community Blog TV to have Amber Campbell, who is the editor and publisher of the Rainier Valley Post. If you live in the Rainier Valley, you definitely are probably already reading it. If you don't, you should probably read it because of all of the great things that are going on in the Rainier Valley. It is rainiervalleypost.com. Be sure to go there. Another great big huge issue that is going on in the Rainier Valley right now, the South End Scene's Columbia City Cinema is closed. And
Disappointingly, yes.
yeah, I went there. My daughter's first movie that was outside of, you know, the house was there, and she had a great time while she was there. It wasn't perfect, but she had a great time. But it's been closed, and we need to keep that up because we're going to be going to comments. What was the circumstance in its closing?
Well, Columbia City Cinema has been struggling with financial insecurity for quite a few years. We actually started covering it at the Rainier Valley Post. It was, I think, in our first year, which was 2008, maybe 2009. I know that at one point several years ago, the Rainier Valley Community Development Fund stepped in, helped with some low-interest loans, I believe, and that just didn't really do it. And then there were issues with the bringing the building. It's a historical building, bringing it up to code with regard to sprinkler system, which, according to the owner, Paul Doyle, you know, is upwards in the neighborhood of $100,000. It's been a very public, contentious battle between Paul and the city, you know, about how to make this happen, whether or not it's going to happen, and apparently the talks failed and it didn't happen because our theater is closed.
And here's what I want to do there. We are behind in the show. We have so many things to cover, but there were a lot of comments on the rainiervalleypost.com about this issue on both sides, and an awful lot of comments. So we're not going to go into the comments. Let's go to the next one because I want to give the cinema owner, sorry about that, Ed, I want to give the cinema owner his due, and that is on columbiacitycinema.com. And basically, he was actually pretty cute in what he said. He borrowed from a Star Trek movie. I think it was boldly going or boldly lying where no lie has gone before, something like that. Yes, boldly lying like no one has lied before. And then his mission critique, basically he takes the city to task. He said it was the easiest fix in the world, a quiet routine compliance process. Instead they turned it into a fight and a disaster. So this way, through the Rainier Valley Post, you get both sides.
That's our goal.
Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna catch up just a little bit. Hey, let's dine out for the arts. Tell me about that.
So Seed Arts is a great organization in Southeast Seattle, and they actually were in some ways inspirational to me starting the Rainier Valley Post, because when I first, you know, became a homeowner in the Rainier Valley, and I realized that the community was dealing with an image problem, and I wanted to help people see all the great things that were going on. Seed Arts was one of the organizations that is just constantly doing, you know, putting on great events like this one, Dine Out for Art. There are all sorts of great public art projects going on in the Rainier Valley. A lot of them use at-risk youth and teenagers in the community, and they're a really good organization doing a lot for the community. So this will be a great opportunity to support them.
And the Post itself actually does a lot with regard. In fact, you have an eating section, which is a great thing. So let's actually go to that because there's something specific that I wanted to make sure that the viewers got to see. You know, it's right there on one of the top tabs, and you eat, and then you go, well, let's click. And the next click, it shows actually some reviews at the bottom. So let's click through this because and we are going to show actually one of the reviews because here they are. There's a lot of different restaurants that are listed for which there have been reviews. Not all everything is good in there in terms of the way people think about some of the food. So let's go to this next click because here's a review of the Flying Squirrel, and they say the Flying Squirrel does crust right. And here's Tom A. He says he's eaten there many times. It's good. Next person says something slightly different. Says this. He says that, hey, I hope it does well, but can you turn the music down? Now, that's a really important comment, I think, because if I'm going there by myself, hey, great. But if I'm taking my 8-year-old there, well, you know.
Sure.
I may not.
And it's a very popular place for kids and families, so that's an issue that I'm sure they've dealt with. It's probably, I mean, as much as I love providing an online forum for discussion, if you really want to get a response with a concern like that, that's probably one that you just mention to the, to the restaurant manager that night when you're there, or something. It's probably some constructive criticism.
Yeah, and again, it's another way for the public to actually become good consumers by telling a business that
exactly.
you might want to do this, you'll get more business. So
well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Stan, because a lot of the businesses in the Rainier Valley are run by small business owners who are really good at whatever passion drove them to start a business, whether it was pizza or doing nails or doing hair or whatever. And they're not necessarily always good at every single aspect of running a business. I know that for a fact myself. I'm certainly not good at every aspect of running a business, and so sometimes that can be a challenge.
Hey, Rainier Beach High School is not closing. I've heard those rumors too, and Rainier Valley Post has it straight from the superintendent's mouth.
Well, it obviously reached a critical mass there, and that's why I think the interim superintendent felt like she needed to speak on that.
New leadership on a high school design team and the 9th and 10th grade academies, she addresses that. There's some good stuff happening in the schools too, and we got to talk about that. The Anaki Kirosi teacher was selected to a prestigious Fulbright Classroom Teacher Program. That's cool.
We are so proud of these teachers, and I'm just really, really excited to help get the word out about what they're doing, because, the schools in the South End have a bad rap, and these teachers prove that there's a lot of great things going on.
Yes, the daughter of 2 teachers, Mayor is a former corporate tax attorney for GE who entered the teaching profession 6 years ago because she wanted to basically do something where she could make a difference.
Isn't that awesome?
That is very cool.
That's
That is
incredible.
very cool.
We are so proud of her.
And then also a Southeast Seattle teacher was honored with a prestigious award for the science teaching excellence.
Oh.
And that is Robert Ettinger. And he's at Mercer Middle.
I think so, yeah. And if you look at the comments on that post, you'll see that Mr. Ettinger's neighbors and friends and students wrote in and commented about what a great teacher he was and what a great experience they've had with him.
And the fact that he's doubled the meeting the state standards on science in just 2 years. He's more than doubled it, actually.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's phenomenal.
It really is.
And it just goes to show that, with very limited resources, teachers and parents in the Rainier Valley are just working extremely hard to bridge that gap between, the funding that we're actually getting and what's really necessary.
Speaking of bridge, the Bridge to the Beach Makeover 2011, the Rainier Valley neighbors come together to clean up the community. This was very cool. Tell me about this project.
I'm so proud of this project. I actually helped start the project 3 years. I think it's in its third year now. And the idea for the All Valley Bridge to Beach Makeover was to bring together all of the little neighborhood groups in the Rainier Valley. We have Rainier Beach, we have Mount Baker, we have Brighton, we have Seward Park, Columbia City. And oftentimes we all get busy working in our little silos in our neighborhoods, on cleanups or this or that or whatever. And I think the goal was really to sort of create some unity and bring the community together for a common good. And so I'm just so proud of that. Of that event, and it's become a yearly event. We're already planning for next year, and it seems like more people get involved every year and do some really amazing things in their neighborhoods.
And awards were given out too. The largest volunteer turnout, junior conservationist, most enthusiastic group, and the greenest thumb. Those are just some great awards, so congratulations to them.
Very well deserved.
Something else that you do on the Rainier Valley Post is the Open Thread Thursday, and I just got some from this past Thursday. There's a lot of interesting people that comment. That's for sure. Let's go to the first comment here. The real Rainier Valley girl. She said, "What was up this morning with the poorly synchronized traffic going northbound?" And then Mariana pops in and says, "SDOT has come down and spent some time, or needs to come and spend some time synchronizing the lights. So maybe this is a way of getting a message to the city." Fix the lights.
I told you transportation issues are such hot button issues. And that's just a great opportunity, a great space for people to, for Mariana chiming in with the phone number to call. How often do you see something, a pothole, graffiti, something that you think, God, I wish there was an easy way for me to contact the city about that. And sometimes it's as simple as having the right phone number.
Well, 150 years ago in the country, the neighbors would have gotten together at that point. Someone would have come outside and said, well, something's happened. This is the way it's happening today,
right.
Through the Rainier Valley Post, the community blog. So again, congratulations for getting that done. And let's actually go to some of the more open Thread Thursday posts, because there were some interesting ones. Let me see. We've got, does anyone know? The power went out, and then there were several different people who were talking, and one of them said that it was about a car hitting a pole at 29th and Alaska. And I actually live in an area that was affected by that, and I had the same questions. Of course, at the time, I wouldn't have been able to have gotten on there.
Right, that's right. Well, and you may have noticed that our own South Seattle cop chimed in and gave us the reason for that. I think a car hit a pole or something. Despite our flashy, glamorous look there at the Rainier Valley Post, we have very limited resources, like all news and information outlets these days. And so to be able to depend excuse me, on our readers and our commenters and people in the community to tell us what happened at a community meeting, or to even tell us that something's wrong, like the power's out and why did that happen, or it may not affect the entire Rainier Valley, and I may not have the resources to always post on it, but thank goodness for those people that do take the time and are willing to help inform their neighbors, because we really depend on those people.
You mean it's not the Daily Planet at the Rainier Valley Post?
I know it may look that way, but no, it's not.
Okay, something we've got to always go to. I've got some pride myself in the Rainier Valley, because I've got my Rainier Valley coffee cup. Oh, let's move my finger so that you can see it. There we are. I love Rainier Valley. And you can get all of your stuff too if you want that, including some T-shirts. Show your South End pride and support your RVP. And the T-shirts are up. Something else that you're doing is you have a Facebook page. The Rainier Valley Post is on Facebook. What's the difference in the Facebook page and the community blog?
Well, for me, it's just really a matter of meeting people where they are. As you know, my background is in marketing, and so, I just sort of have an instinctual, my instinct is to meet people where they are in terms of how they want to find out information. I've been on the fence for a long time about Twitter and Facebook, but it's clear that is where a lot of people like to hang out, get their news, kind of how you referred to it earlier, the blog as the community square. Well, some people feel more comfortable in the Facebook community square. And so that's really the goal, is just to meet people where they are and where they feel comfortable.
So on these very difficult issues then that Rainier Valley is looking at, particularly with the redevelopment plan, then that's yet another reason for the city to work with the Rainier Valley Post and other community blogs on other issues of this same kind to get the public's viewpoint known.
It is, and I really hope the city will continue to try to work with us on that. Oftentimes they see what we're doing, and instead of working with us, they go and ask us to direct people to another website. Well, go here and leave your comments. Well, that's not where people feel comfortable. Yeah. People feel comfortable at the Rainier Valley Post. That's where they want to talk. That's where they want to have their discussions. And so we really do hope the city will continue to work with us on using that as a way to get the discussion going and understand where people are coming from.
And we're going to let that be the last word. The Community Blog TV has been very fortunate to have Amber Campbell, editor and publisher of the Rainier Valley Post. Go to the rainiervalleypost.com. We'll see you next week right here on Community Blog TV.